Good evening, scribbles and scratches of the Fitz of Writing community. We are going to be hitting you with another announcement because it is the beginning of a brand new season coming right up, and we're doing a lot more stuff for you this go around. So, we thought that it would be a good idea for us to get our benevolent benefactor involved with the announcement here. So, for the very first time on our channel, you can all listen to the sultry sounds of our boss, Sir Dr. Duncan Cackleworth, announcing an ink-readable contest.
Greetings, scribbles and scratches. I am positively spellbound to announce my ink-readable contest. A free writing competition designed to reward those daring few who are striving to stride the hard road to publication. Yes, free I say. No entry fees, no hidden curses, no genre restrictions. To enter, simply request a submission form and submit. And the winner, oh, the glorious winner shall receive top-tier professional grade, line, proof, and copy editing from a best-selling editor, completely free. Up to 30,000 words or half the book, whichever comes first. A guaranteed interview and additional promotion from the Fitz of Writing upon publication. So, scribbles and scratches, request the form. Submit with confidence. This has been Sir Dr. Duncan Cackleworth, Esquire, reminding you that ink, when properly wielded, can create the most ink-readable of things. Strike the like, and semper scribe.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, you guys heard it there right from the horse's mouth. Just submit an email to us. We'll get you the submission form. In there is all the instructions on like what you need to follow in order to be considered appropriately. The winner at the end of the season will be announced, and they will get premium editing done by a best-selling editor, our friend and official, unofficial editor of the Fitz of Writing, Kimberly Huther. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what people bring in. Just make sure you're reading the details in the form so that you don't get yourself disqualified accidentally.
Yep, and don't forget also that we are going to, set up an interview with you once your book does get published, and we will do what we can to market it with alongside you, and just do what we can to make sure that your name gets out there and everything alongside with her work, your work, and whatever we can do. But we're pretty excited about being able to offer that to everybody. Hopefully that you, for those of you who are, nearing the end of your storytelling or your writing journey, hopefully that's exciting for you too. But to kind of get onto the topic of the video, now that we've bothered you with all of those details, the question this week is, doesn't it just bother the crap out of you when somebody walks up to you and tells you what country you live in and what year it is? Do you think they're stupid? Do you want to fight them? Good news, you don't have to. You can just write them out of the story that you're creating. All right, Ryan, what are we talking about?
This week, we're talking Maid and Butler, as you well know. My God, do I hate this. I hate it so much. I hate everything about two people talking about something that everyone in the room knows that they both already know. It is exhausting. It feels flaccid and fake, and I just hate. There's a place for it, which is where the term comes from, and it's on a stage that is welcomed there because they have to relay information to the audience that the audience doesn't know, and they have to kind of set the stage. As a narrative writer who has a book all their own, you do not need this technique. It does not serve you in any good capacity.
Yes. Nobody should be made to buttle but butlers.
And everyone loves maids.
Okay.
All right. So what do you hate about it? I could talk endlessly about.
I have a feeling that we both hate a lot of the same things, because if there's one thing that I would rather die before doing, it's having a character, and yes, it doesn't have to be a maid or a butler, but just some side character announcing details about the world that you're telling, or the world that you're constructing, that your characters would know right off the dome. Like, there are ways to build it. Granted, you have to build that context for your readers. You have to tell them about the world and everything, but there are so many better ways to do it outside of just having two non-important characters discussing things that everyone already knows in your world.
Yeah, 100%. I think my anger kind of splits in two parts. It's one, I find it absolutely annoying, the fact that human beings who are writing, who I can almost certainly guarantee would encounter a person that comes up to them and shares with them information that they know, that they both know that they know, as though one of them doesn't, would be heavily annoyed by that person. And yet for some reason, when they're writing, they're like, oh, I got this information that needs to be told. They do that exact thing that they would loathe in real life. That's problem one. Problem two is the people that offer this advice of don't Maid and Butler. Yeah, we all kind of get that, but I don't think it's addressing the actual problem, which is what we all kind of need the advice for, is why are you doing it? Why are you choosing to do this? And that's because you as the author feel like this stuff needs to be relayed. I need to inform the audience. It's just a piss poor way of doing that.
Right. And nobody's saying to not give that context to your readers. Unfortunately, you really do have to put your creative pants on one leg at a time to figure out a good, well-sewn way to kind of deliver that detail. And doing the Maid and Butler trick in any way, shape, or form is lazy. It gets the point across. Your reader learns. It's just, for us, it seems to bother us just because it's such a cop-out.
Well, I also like the common advice. Do you mind if we get into the common advice that's discussed about this stuff?
Let's get even angrier.
Yeah. I hate. So one good piece is avoid exposition dumps, which again, like it feels like a lot of advice is just packaged in 3 words or so, and it's like, okay, avoid exposition dumps.
I'd make the argument that one is okay. Don't do that. Readers are turned off by a wall of text.
Yes, I say figure out a creative way to deliver your exposition. Don't just vomit onto your reader. No one wants to get vomited on. Don't do it in your book.
Right. It's awful. It smells bad.
Yeah. But we've talked about different ways, like just when we're talking about our own writing, like how we've kind of explored it and stuff like that. And those are good examples where you just kind of find different avenues. Um,
Yeah, find
Not that I want
spots
to
of
get into our stuff yet.
conversation where it is organic for something like that to come up. It's, rather than a dump, more of like an exposition sprinkle. Do the Salt Bay thing,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
walk
Salt
away
Bay it.
off the
Exposition
elbow.
Salt Bay.
Yes.
Another good piece, which I think we can get behind, at least for us, which is don't explain well-known facts. I would tag it with via dialogue.
Yeah. At some point, you're probably going to get handcuffed where you're going to have to just outright explain something. There are creative ways to do it. Ryan has, with Hath and Harrow, if you're okay with me talking about that, where you kind of lay out a little bit of the history of the world you built and everything, with the narrator as a sort of character, but removed from the story itself, just to kind of give the reader some soil to stand on as the story begins. And I think that that's acceptable if it fits the kind of story that you're going to tell. One bit of advice that we came, or one bit of advice that you gave me on trying to explain in the story that I'm working on right now is, rather than having anybody kind of describing why technology is stunted because there used to be magic and now there's not magic, so technology is kind of developing but it's behind of where it would be. My characters work in an auto shop. There's never not a radio on in an audio shop, and if there's one group of people where it is not surprising or off-putting at all to your psyche to hear them kind of talking about what everybody already might know about, it's the news.
Ooh, yes.
So,
Yeah, and you can do radios, newspapers. You could have a town crier as you're walking through town too, stuff like that.
yeah, there's a lot of little ways, and by no means should you explain everything with that one little scene still, because you still wind up with that wall of text that bores the crap out of me and will get me closing a book faster than insert funny quib here.
Yeah. Another piece of common advice, which I absolutely love, is show, don't tell. I love how it's advice for another problem that they've advised for a different problem without explaining it. But
it's cyclical.
Yeah, it's a circle. Just show, don't tell for every problem that you encounter as a writer. I think essentially what it's trying to get at is the advice that Sean and I are talking about is like find a different medium to relay this information through sight, through sound, textures, anything that you encounter that could describe the world around you as you're moving through it. That would be helpful rather than just having two people talk.
Yep. This one's my favorite. Sound more natural.
Yeah.
That's just dumb. That
That
thanks for
fixes
nothing,
dialogue.
Google. Natural means an awful lot of different things to an awful lot of different people, so that advice can go fuck itself.
Yeah, I can get behind that. It only fixes what the perceived problem is, which is the dialogue and not the actual problem, which is why you as the writer have chosen to use Maid and Butler. You know, you're not using Maid and Butler because you think it's good dialogue. You're doing it because you're trying to relay information.
Right. And I mean, that's just to go into what we've done to try to get around it, to try to explain things. We already touched on having the narrator take care of it so long as it's a properly incorporated character, so to speak. Almost like if you're going to take out your example of Hath and Harrow, Ishmael in Moby Dick, who makes sure that the reader kind of understands some of the background and context of what's going on. The root of the problem is your world needs explaining. So how you do that is really just the question. And, maybe to avoid mating and or butlering, you might have to maybe create another scene where in it the action kind of gives a little bit more context to your world and explains a few things. Because the reader's not from there, especially if you're like a fantasy or a sci-fi writer. You almost have a whole lot more work to do than somebody who writes just plain Jane fiction in, based in the real world and everything. That's I don't want to say easier or anything, that it doesn't need its own context, but creating a world from scratch, there is a little bit more weight to
Work
move
to be
there.
done. Yeah. And I think that's why I always I don't like to. I like when I'm advising people, or even myself in this situation, I don't like to scare people from the idea of an exposition dump. Sorry. I think you have to take in consideration that the reader is not of the world that you are writing. And information can be very impactful to the story if provided in an expert way. And sometimes it's okay to just hand feed somebody if you do it in an interesting way. If I could give you an example of perhaps my favorite time this has ever happened, it's in The Hobbit. It's early, and the author, Tolkien, isn't afraid to just stop what he's doing and just go, hey, I've introduced a thing that you don't know anything about. I should probably explain that. And he comes to you, and you almost feel like he's a grown-up and you're a kid, and he's just like, oh, I guess hobbits do need some explanation. Let me give you the rundown real quick. And it doesn't steal away from the story. In my opinion, it draws you in more because of the manner in which he does it, where it gives you this vibe of you're just sitting down listening to someone tell you a story. So don't be afraid of it. You might do it wrong, you might do it right, but don't be afraid to try, is my opinion.
Right. Well, you can lay it down that way and just see how it kind of feels once it's put to paper and everything. We already talked about what we did. You had given me during another talk kind of an example of what you did. You're gonna be mad at me, but all I can remember is it had something to do with a bridge.
Oh yes, yeah. So I had two problems I had to fix. One, I needed to explain a lot more of the lore. It was pretty early on the book, and I had like a travel log I was trying to avoid because no one likes reading travel logs. And so what I did, clap on my own back, I feel like I'm pretty clever, but I did a thing where I had my party of two people just go off on their journey, and as they're riding through, I'm explaining the history of the world in a very small pocket of it based on what they're traveling through and like why this is the way it is. And generally I'm talking about this bridge that they're actually moving toward and how the history of this bridge was built, why it was built the way it was, who constructed it, because all those things are important in a grander scape, not necessarily to the story, but just to realize, hey, there's this race of people out there. They're a builder type. There's this other group that were enslaved and they were, tortured and treated poorly. And I continue that exposition, mixing it with dialogue, because like as the characters are moving over the bridge, my main character is noticing all these different details of the bridge that have to deal with this history, but he's like noticing them, but he's still interacting with the dialogue. And I essentially got away with this big exposition dump by finding ways to blur it in so that it wasn't so
Jarring.
like mind-numbing. Yeah, it's just like, oh, I'm information. I made it accessible and interesting.
It kind of fits with like what you were saying about Tolkien just did that, and I think that what you do there and what Tolkien did in doing it early and just kind of explaining what they are now. I'm sure Tolkien was a whole lot more long-winded because everything in those books is long-winded. But
well, in his defense, he was talking about stuff nobody knew or understood. So
right.
He kind of had to be.
Well, and nobody knows anything about your bridge either until you tell them. But it's almost like the final part of that advice is just don't let your exposition overstay its welcome. Use it when it's useful, and then put it away for another time. Your reader's going to get, by the end of your book, your reader should have a pretty good idea of what your world looks like and how it works, but they don't need it all at once.
No. And like another, not to keep using my own material, but another great example of ways to do that is
I cut the word "great" out of there. One other time I killed it.
Just leave that whole thing in there. Another example I think really helps is, like, I have this race of Hath and Harrow, like Sean said, that is, I need to talk about them throughout the story because they're going to become important about midway through. But I can't just spring them onto the people because I want them to feel like they're of the land and all that. And so what I do is, throughout the entirety of the early portion, is I'm just using them in common parlance, almost like in a negative, like people refer to someone as being this, I call them bards of Bardus, but like you're a bard from Bardus or something like that. It can have a negative context. It can also imply like the type of personality you have. And I just throw it out there without explaining what it is, essentially letting the tone in which the person is conveying this kind of create the illusion of what it is in your head, so that when you finally meet them, it starts to all click and you're just like, oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah, they are like that, And so doing things of that nature are good ways to not just dump everything, just kind of pepper it as you go. And then when it becomes important to relay the information, that's when you should lay into it.
Yeah, well, it creates intrigue. Gives the reader something to question and wonder about, and it almost forces them to read a little closer. Just to wonder, did I miss something?
Yeah, hopefully.
I don't know. Go back and read the chapter again, and you tell me. Well, Ryan, do you feel like there's anything else really to kind of drill into, or do we want to pass the conversation along to the comments?
Yeah, I'm open to. I would love to hear what other people have to say. I mean, our advice, as poor as it is, certainly can be added to or corrected. So yeah, I'd love to see what people have to say.
Good. Well, yeah, I'm interested to see, even if you feel like your example of avoiding Maid and Butler and revealing how you exposited your world, without that particular, what do you call it, cliche, is a, I'm curious to see how you use that to kind of build on your world and everything and show the reader what you did. So feel free to put something down in the comments. We're more than happy to read them for you. We'll answer and get back with you if you have anything, or if you have a question on how to do it, you can put that in the comments or send us an email. I'd say that's well enough opportunity for Ryan to talk about the Dear Duncan segment we're trying to build.
Yeah, we're definitely opening it up to the community. We're trying to be helpful. We're trying to get the rest of the community to help. So if you guys have a question, and if you want to be on camera or not, that's fine. Just send us an email. We'll send you a submission form. In that, it tells us if you want to be on camera, if you'd rather remain anonymous, all that stuff. If I can say anonymous correctly. Yeah, just shoot us an email, send us your question. We'll try to give the best advice we can give. It's not golden rules or anything like that. We're under no delusions to think that our advice is the best advice. We're just trying to be helpful. And we ask that other people in the community do the same. So like when you guys see these, throw your own suggestions into the comments. Maybe we can help someone get the creative juices moving, or at least get them unstuck in their current predicament. So we would love to do that.
Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, we can talk about it, talk through it, and maybe you hate our idea so much that you figure out what you want to do instead and go on from there. I'm going to throw out there, I would be appreciative if you were willing to have a conversation with us and do more of a deep dive, whether it be on an episode or not. You don't have to be on camera. You can check in our season 1. We've got ways to get around, if you don't want to actually appear. But
we have the technology.
Yes, it is me. But just in case there's any context missing from the question, and that would help us maybe kind of wrap our own heads around what you're struggling with and everything. But it is not necessary. We'll do the best that we can if you just want us to shoot for it. And if we miss the pitch completely, you can yell at us in the comments. But
Yell at Sean, not me. My heart breaks easily.
It doesn't. I've been trying to break it for over a year now, and it just keeps thumping.
Jesus. It'd break my heart not to stop it. God. That's my co-host, everybody.
With that one, we're going to head out for the night, but we thank you all for watching. Please, if you found this useful in any way, shape, or form, or entertaining, or it made you angry, I don't really care what the reason is, please strike the like and subscribe.
Or semperscribe.
Ryan.
Yes.
How do we end these?
Like this.